Good. Hello. Thanks for watching another random palm reading. This person emailed me because they are feeling quite stagnant at the moment in their life. So this palm reading is designed to show you how to unlock your potential and to develop the self, to improve self-development. It is a palm reading for personal growth, to understand what this person should be doing in their career. So their message, so I'll just summarize for you here. They have been supporting their family for the past 2 years. Their life is now stagnant. They've just started getting back into studying. Motivation to do anything is hard because I don't know what I want. Now that's the key. I know I like a few things and maybe have an idea of what career I would like, but I don't really know how to get there. They would like to know a bit more about their romance. They've just been really struggling because they've had to put life on hold essentially and focus helping put their help get their family back on their feet. So in Palm Street, the best thing to do is to first identify, then analyze, and then we can begin concluding this person is a fire hand, but to be more specific, this is a conic hand. The fingers are gently tapering. The overriding feature of the conic hand is that everything is rounded and the presence, the personality is vibrant. There's a great deal of enthusiasm and motivation about the conic hand. They are instinctive, they judge by feel. They don't tend to work by lengthy analysis and data. They live in the moment, and that's what the rounded features provide us with. Conic hands often end up working in creative fields, and that's because they have such a good sense of feel and taste, and they can understand how others relate in that regard. They often also work in the public sector, so they either work in having an audience or by working for people or with people. So they often work in physiotherapy departments or a small sort of a GP practice or something like that. They are excellent organizers of other people's work, not so much their own. In this case, this conic hand has an elevated Jupiter finger, and the Jupiter finger on the left hand appears a little bit pointed. This person has a strong sense of ambition, pride, and he's probably quite good at explaining things and directing people. There's a strong sense of leadership within this person. We see that in the left hand and not so much the right. And this shows that there is an innate quality there. There's an inherent quality to manage other people. Interestingly, the left hand shows its fingers as a little more splayed out than the right. This person is now much more willing to work closely with people. They've changed their perspective. Well, that's one interpretation. The other could be that, in fact, they've had to work more closely with people. And what the internal is showing us, because it's the left hand, is showing us that there's a need for exploration. There's a desire here to explore ambition. Outward fingers are always representing an outgoing nature, a need to explore and experience. Now, most of the time in conic hands, I see very full, vibrant, rounded, warm, resistant appearing, springy appearing Venus mounts and lunar mounts. And this shows that kind of vibrancy of spirit and character and personality, that warmth, that generosity, and also vibrancy of ideas and imagination and creativity. I don't quite see that much here. This person is in some way, as they have mentioned, lacking in motivation. And once this person really finds that spark, believe it or not, and I think they will, the hand will actually widen at the base. That's what we see when we see people who are highly motivated, people who are motivators, inventors, pioneers, who are inspired by change and making change. They are motivators and also motivated by the idea of motivating others. Now, notice here the tip of Apollo. It is somewhat spatula, and that shows action, action towards beauty and design and color and shape and form and all things artistic. Creatively, there's an idea here as to what should be and how things should look and feel and sound. Interestingly, on the right hand, Apollo actually appears taller than on the left. And this really shows that this person has developed in some way their talents. Now, when we look closer at this finger, what we see is a loop on as far as the fingerprint goes. What the loop fingerprint shows us on Apollo here, and I believe I see the same thing on the left hand. It shows us tremendous adaptability, flexibility. It's very fluid, and the element water shows us that imagination is strong, creativity, and a strong connection with the subconscious. So, how do the things I've said so far relate to personal development? How do they relate to the um, discovery of unlocking the potential in the palms? Well, let's look at the facts here. We've got someone who is innately has a great understanding of creativity. Conic hands are people who work very well in small groups. This is certainly someone who has managerial skills, who has a strong sense of ambition and pride and ego, and has a good sense of power and about how to wield that power. They have strong managerial skills that make a good boss. They are fluid and adaptive. They live in the moment. So all of these things combined, that tells me this person would make a superb stage manager. It's also important to note where the fate line is coming from. This is certainly someone who desires to work in front of an audience. So whilst their skills actually might be, they might well have skills in terms of managing on the stage and backstage, they have the ambition, they have the drive, and also Apollo and Jupiter are so level, and even on the right hand, it shows this a superb sense of understanding of the self and their own capabilities. Not only do they have a good understanding of their own self-worth, although this has been somewhat reduced because it's slightly shorter on the right hand, it shows us this person it has a very level-headed understanding of what they are capable of, and it's one of the signs of fame in palmistry. This spatulate Apollo is always seen on the hands of actors, so although they might be actually a superb, theatre stage manager, they would also make likely a great actor as well. Firehand always do have some spark about them. They are inspiring. Fire has inspired and fascinated mankind since forever. I think it's really interesting to note that the fate line, however faint, it begins at the center of the palm, and it begins on some level of escapism we see here. And after a time, it sort of fades out, and as it does, there's an overlapping fate line here, and it begins in, as I say, much more of a place of, um, that desire to have an audience. And this is the left hand, so it shows us what's internal. It shows us that desire. The rounded nails provide us with an optimistic personality, a very likable character. And this is a very common trait with conic hands. They are very personable. I think this person would make a superb television reporter, a journalist. But I think, in particular, being on that camera and being in charge in some way, explaining. Remember, I said this person is a good explainer. The relatively pointed tip of Jupiter shows us that ability to break down information, to delegate and command. There's a strong presence about this person. So I've gone from a stage manager to an actor to a reporter, and as I say, it's about identifying, analyzing, and then concluding. And I'm coming towards a conclusion in terms of what this person would be good at, what would suit them, and what would provide them with that fulfillment. And this is what palmistry is about. It's about unlocking that potential through analysis, through what the hands are telling us. The hands are in a lot of ways a map, both a map and a language. They tell us information in a very unique way. And once we can find a landmark, we have a frame of reference that we can work from there and see where all the other landmarks are in relation to that. In order to be a journalist or a reporter, you need to have good communication skills. That's key. That's obvious, right? Where do we see that? We see that in the Mercury finger. The Mercury finger itself is long, and we measure the length of it by offsetting the overall length of Mercury against the bottom two phalanges of Apollo. If Mercury then still sits uh, past the halfway mark of the first phalanx of Apollo, we know we have a long Mercury finger, and this is indeed the case with this person. And notice as well, the tip of Mercury is longer than the other phalanges. Science as well, medicine, understanding language, listening. I believe this person is very gifted in this regard. Getting a sense that, there's hurt here, there's trauma, early life, particularly difficult right up to the age of 22. There were three distinctive instances of real stress and trauma, hurt, upset, disappointment. And this has really affected this person where we see the heart line crashing into the life and the headline, all three major lines. Join, we see unresolved trauma in some way. The heart is asking the mind and the environment for support at this time. And this has really held this person back. What's also noteworthy in this person's hand is just how faint the fate line is on the right hand overall. And this shows because it's about how this person's feeling about their destiny and their path. They are feeling very stagnant right now. And once they have this fire lit underneath them, which I believe they will, and as I say, the width of their hand at the base will widen, also, so too will their fate line. It'll widen, it'll deepen, it'll become stronger, more etched into their palm, providing us with that um, representation of fulfillment and happiness and purpose. I find it interesting how the fingers, Jupiter, Saturn, they're both lean slightly at the tip towards this well-developed Apollo. Mercury is also well developed. And I don't see quite the same sort of thing happening on the right hand, and it's sort of showing me here that there's a lot more alignment in the right hand. This person's now ready to start actualizing what lies dormant within. They are ready to unlock their potential. I think it is important to note here that this person is 19. I have their birthday, and I have been looking their numerology, their life path number is 5. I think that really actually sums up things here because this person is highly, how can I say, they are destined for great things. They find it difficult to stay in one place. A 9 to 5 office job is not going to suit them. I've been looking at the numbers, and there are two overarching themes of this person's life. And when we look at those numbers in the tarot, we see there's temperance and the Hierophant. So I'll get around to explaining that, but you can see here in the heart line there is a lack of focus here, and it's likely because of this stagnation, because where they found themselves. And notice that the Apollo and the Saturn fingers are so very closely wound together at this time, environmentally, even physically. They're practically not able to escape as their left hand shows us that they want to. They explore and they're ready now to really um, and experience what life has to offer and to really develop themselves. If this person had a forking headline, I would recommend acting. They would have an ability to see things from many different angles to portray characters very well, but I don't quite see that. What I do see is a strong, level-headed person that's very able to achieve under pressure. I see someone who is very able to dispassionately make decisions. I see someone who is somewhat closed off in terms of their social network, but again, that's because of the lifestyle they've had to live, really supporting their family for the last 2 years at 19. It's so young. And I can see now why all these signs are showing me here that this person is restricted, is oppressed almost spiritually, as well as socially, experientially, if that is even a word. But again, these things that I'm concluding now are really backing up my recent interpretation that I believe this person would make a superb reporter. I think they would make a great journalist, but I think they would really excel by, showing their personality, by breaking down information on camera and really utilizing who they are their personality and their charisma. And this is also evidenced by the strength of Neptune as well. I can't I can't help but feel this person would make just a superb television reporter. You have to think quickly, you have to adapt in the moment, and this is everything that this person is actually very good at. You know, the fingers aren't long, they're nicely rounded. There's that loop we've seen on Apollo. In fact, all the fingers have loops, and you know, this is just perfect. This escape line that we see on the left and the right hand as well, there'd be a real sense of fulfillment with the travel as well, that they would get to experience the different places they'd visit, people they'd meet, and stories that they would cover. In terms of relationships, this it's really important this person has someone who understands their potentially short attention span, their need to be constantly on the move and stimulated. They need someone who is essentially going to wine and dine them, change things up a little bit, give them a bit of a challenge. This person needs to adapt and think in the moment. So it's really important that they have this variety and spice of life in a partner. In terms of relationships, what the hands are showing me right now is this person has the potential for marriage, but not until later on in life. But I have to stress here, this person is just 19. And where I see this relationship line, this marriage line, is probably about the age of, I would say, 40. So really, the lines can and do change. And by the time this person reaches, you know, even 30, this line, I guarantee, this relationship line will drastically change. There may well even be several of these lines at different points on both hands. So too will the other minor lines, like the success line. And I find it interesting that actually, considering everything else, considering the fate line and the lack of fateness, the success line looks really strong here, the sun line. So, you know, considering that, I feel like this person is actually pretty much destined for great things. And I do only see this line becoming stronger in time anyway. And it might well be due to someone they meet because it sort of hints at that this person later on in life, at about the age of 40, which is a strange thing to see in someone's hand so young. They may well be enhanced by this, or may well, you know, end up with someone who is famous or very wealthy. Just want to point out the whiteness seen in the nails here is a lack of iron. I wouldn't say anemia, but there is some deficiency there. Now, as I say, I do see good things ahead for this person, significantly. And, you know, it's not always easy for me to see this sort of thing in the distant future. But I do see these things. And as I say, they probably will change. And I'd like to say that just around the corner of this person, everything gets easier. But there are still a few obstacles just down the road. And, you know, I can say that 25 and 35 in particular, tremendous change will occur. 25 looks to be very positive. There will be great advancements here towards their talents, particularly creative talents. Look at the area that it points towards, Apollo. And also at the age of 30, 35, sorry, there will be another great change to this person's life. And that's why we see such a great change in the fate line at this time. I strongly advise this person to work on their performance skills, their presenting skills. It's who you know in creative industries. It really is who you know. If you can get to know someone in broadcasting in some way, if you can work towards developing and enhancing your skills on camera and utilize your ability to problem solve, break down that information, explain and delegate to command, utilize your presence to captivate and hold an audience. And even just by beginning on a ground level, even just sort of YouTubing, there might well be a way in there. I strongly advise that you work towards this path because I believe you have a strong future in it. And once you are able to really work towards your strength, once you you know, you feel that you have a strength and you are working towards that, it's important that you stick to it, play to that strength. Don't veer away. think you're more creative, more artistic than you perhaps realize. And actually, I believe that's where the real key to your overall success lies in. Notice this, you can just about see this success line right here. The thing is, it's so faint right now. It could form a faint line. It could veer off into success itself. The beginnings of it are there. Find a production company, even if it's just student films. Start as a runner. Start on the ground level. Truly, it's who you know, and I do feel that you will benefit from this hugely. It'll be massively satisfying, very rewarding, and I think it'll all start from there. But know this, you really do have a presence and there are skills there in front of the camera, and that's, I believe, where you'll end up. Things might feel stagnant right now, but things will change, particularly at 25, just 6 years' time, and that might seem like a long time, but it really isn't in the grand scheme of things. So those of you watching, let me know what your thoughts are here. Have you learned in terms of how to unlock your potential, develop self-growth, personal growth? What are your thoughts? Do you feel that, um, what are your thoughts about my interpretation? Perhaps you've picked up on something here that I haven't. I've really enjoyed reading these poems. And actually, it is very difficult sometimes when the lines are so faint and so few. And this is why we have to switch up our approach and go from more of a chirognomy approach and look at what the hand shape and fingers are telling us and work from there. If you're struggling when you're reading poems, always go back to the basics. Thanks for watching and please subscribe.